look, the elephant in the room here is the CIA. The CIA was probably behind the 9/11 attacks. It was a botched CIA operation, patronizing to the point of offensive in insisting, it's basically trust us, bro. It's all good now. The CIA's fine. The CIA is not fine.
Tucker Carlson and Michael Shellenberger just hammered the CIA for crimes against Americans, and in this clip, they talk about the Epstein cover up, the CIA operation to try to recruit two of the future hijackers as intelligence assets, and other vile crimes of an organization that needs to be abolished. These are two of the best journalists in the world talking about one of the most important issues in the world, so let's get their take. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
I think we've seen that there's frankly, a secret government that, people will say that sounds conspiratorial, but I think if you realize what the Epstein files are, and that it was covering up almost certainly, very likely, a sex blackmail operation. And by the way, we didn't even have proof of the hidden cameras until a couple of weeks ago, when the New York Times published two photos of the hidden cameras, one of them pointing right at a bed in Epstein's New York apartment. I think we know that, and we had, and Massey was in, Congressman Massey was in Congress last week, and he said there was 20 names that he knows who they are that are in the files. He gave us one of them, CEO of Barclays Bank, and then he kind of listed who the other ones were. One of them was like a, Hollywood producer, rock star, magician. So we know all these things. I think it's a really important test. I think it's really important that all of us that are sympathetic to things the Trump administration has done, that we continue to not let the Epstein issue go. And then I think the other issue, Tucker, that I know you care a lot about is the UAP issue. The president said after the drones over New Jersey, the unidentified, mostly unidentified drones over New Jersey, that we were going to be able to find what that is. I have a list of all of the key documents provided to me by John Greenwald of the UAP documents that exist, that have many of which have been released and have just been so heavily redacted. They need to release these things. They need to stop hiding this.
Yeah, absolutely they do, but we'll never get transparency because it's a shadow government. It's a government that isn't beholden to the interests of U.S. citizens, the taxpayers, the voters. They're beholden to national lobbies, the biggest corporations in the world, Israel. They're beholden to the military-industrial complex, big pharma, etc. And that's what you get regardless of the party who you elect or you champion or you sit on their side of. As far as the cameras in the Epstein case, those photos actually were known about and documented before this was reported on by people like he mentioned, as well as Sagar and Jetty from Breaking Points, breaking this out right away after Ghislaine Maxwell in her interview with the FBI blatantly lied about that, said, there was no cameras installed. I would have known about it if they were, but they know from photos that there were cameras installed. But we can't get answers on that because Epstein was likely conducting, as Shellenberger said, a foreign operation, a foreign intelligence operation that used a sex blackmail ring as its centerpiece, trying to leverage the most powerful people in the world to do your bidding. We're not going to get answers there, just like we're not going to get answers with the UAP things. This is a government that is completely illegitimate, vile and reprehensible, and a free society would skewer them for all this.
And I'll just end by saying, on this, to culminate it all, look, the elephant in the room here is the CIA. You've got this wonderful reform leader in Tulsi Gabbard, who is a unifying leader. She has so much trust from people that were on the left,
yes,
so much trust from the MAGA community. She's obviously a good person, like anybody that has ever met her
she is
or
a good
seen
person.
her.
That's correct. Yes.
And she by law, Congress after 9/11 made this law that she is the boss of the intelligence community. That is what the law requires. But we have this recalcitrant CIA where, come on, guys. Like, we have not seen significant change to personnel. Apparently only two of the people that worked on the bogus intelligence community assessment about Russia interference in the 2016 elections, only two of those people are gone. It's the response from CIA to us. I frankly found what they told us to be just patronizing to the point of offensive in insisting, it's basically trust us, bro. It's all good now. The CIA is fine. The CIA is not fine.
Yeah, the CIA is too evil to be reformed. It can't be reformed. If you try to reform evil, you're still left with some percentage of evil, and the CIA doesn't even do the task that they sell to protect Americans. No, you wage psychological warfare on Americans to try to buy into whatever regime change plan that you want on that given day. You try to influence the media, play in domestic politics, just read about Operation Mockingbird if you don't know that's true, try to control people's minds through MK Ultra, read about that too, highly documented. The CIA is controlled by John Ratcliffe, a total neocon Zionist stooge who played a big role in expanding FISA 702 to allow warrantless wiretapping, by the way. The CIA just has to be abolished, and that's the truth. I don't care who you put at the head of it. And by the way, I'm a little bit more critical of Tulsi Gabbard than Shellenberger. You know, she does come off as a nice person, and it took a lot of courage to oppose the liberal establishment on the Syria issue, saying that it was tantamount to treason for siding with Al Qaeda, which it was. But she also fudged the intelligence on Iran, going against her threat assessment by saying, you know, going from they don't have a nuclear weapon, they're not reconstituting their nuclear weapons program, to the day before the US bombs Iran, they're weeks away from acquiring a nuke. That is cowardly. Also, being silent about putting regime change operation against Venezuela on the table, which Trump and his subordinates have done in recent days, is cowardly too, because she spoke out against that viscerally in the first Trump administration when Trump tried to do that then, where an operation was in place to do it. So that's my take on that.
The CIA is hiding information that the American people paid for and have a right to know on a lot of issues.
A lot.
UAP, Epstein, Congressman Massey revealed that there is a CIA file on Epstein that needs to come out. And look, maybe CIA shouldn't exist. I mean, Senator Moynihan, before he died, and Kennedy's historian, why am I blanking on his
Arthur
name? Is it
Schlesinger.
Schlesinger?
Yep.
Schlesinger. There's been various proposals to break up the CIA. You know, frankly, it's a paramilitary organization ever since 9/11. It was supposed to be Truman wanted an intel organization. We need good intel. By the way, congratulations on your brilliant documentary. I saw the first.
Before he goes into Tucker's documentary, yeah, it's been more of a paramilitary organization since 9/11. I think since the jump, since it was created with Arthur Dulles being the major player in its creation and the transition of the OSS to the CIA, when, you know, years after it got started, it launched regime change operations in Iran and Guatemala and tried to do that in the Dominican Republic. The Bay of Pigs fiasco in the 60s was just totally reprehensible in so many ways. And Schlesinger was right in that memo, which finally got redacted completely and released to the American public earlier this year, that the CIA is essentially running a rogue foreign policy that isn't conducive or representative of what the electors want. It's just a bureaucracy, you know, violating some of the tenets that Americans that elect politicians would actually want. That all is true. It does need to be abolished. It does need to go away. It doesn't even provide the benefits that they purport. And instead, it just propagandizes us to support whatever kind of military operation that it wants, especially since 9/11. I'll give Shellenberger that, but it goes far deeper and far wider than that.
First part of it last night. So now it appears, if I'm understanding correctly, that the CIA was probably behind the 9/11 attacks. It was a botched CIA operation. It sounds like. I haven't finished your series, but here you have this. So I mean, you kind of go. So here you have an organization that's responsible for just the worst, like, regime change coups, followed by dictators who tortured people. CIA that, you know, infiltrated American student groups, that used labor unions to, you know, engage in regime change. You know, that spawn off people that were involved in the censorship industrial complex and lawfare, may have been, it sounds like what you're saying, you know, that was behind, or at least didn't stop or contributed to the 9/11 attacks.
This is absolutely true. A Saudi intelligence figure named Omar al-Bayoubi supposedly just ran into two of the 9/11 hijackers by chance when they first came to the United States. and lived in San Diego, and they had been tracked by the CIA prior to that. But here's the CIA. They had this lofty, incredible clandestine idea to recruit two of the hijackers in Al-Qaeda to get inside men in Al-Qaeda. And this was their attempt. They couldn't do it legally through domestic spying. So they used the Saudis, a Saudi intelligence agent, Bayoumi, as a proxy to do it. And this spun out of control because they didn't tell the FBI about this, who does have, jurisdiction over overseeing threats of terrorism from the United States, until August of 2001. And by that time, the 9/11 plan was not only, through with its fruition, coming together with all of its planning stages, the resources involved, who would be involved. It was go time, and they didn't stop the attack. So because the CIA tried to recruit two 9/11 hijackers, that attack took place. This did contribute. Tucker's series on this is great. We did a reaction video on it. Again, this is a huge story. This is being totally buried by the media, but documents show this. A disclosed document in 2022 actually had the FBI believing, this is the FBI believing, that Bayoumi had a 50-50 chance of foreknowledge about the 9/11 attacks. He bought them apartments. He bought these two hijackers, driver's licenses and things to set them up here. And we're supposed to believe it was all coincidence. It's too absurd to be true.
And then they did the torture after 9/11, which not only doesn't work, creates bad information and is a stain on the moral character of the United States. At a certain point, you're like, what is this dog of an organization doing, being just unreformed and trampling on all of our basic, freedoms? So, I mean, I kind of go, I think we just need to tell people that we don't really govern ourselves as long as you have this, mess of an institution called the CIA, where a bunch of analysts kind of appear to run the world. As long as that organization remains unreformed and we don't really get true disclosure about all the things that we know are going on, then I think we should be pretty unhappy and pretty demanding of much more significant reforms than it appears the Trump administration is going to pursue.
Not reforms, abolishment. The idea that we're going to reform the CIA, make it non-evil, has, come across the lips of many aspiring politicians. But no reform is going to correct what it is. It must be wiped off the map. You can have military intelligence. Just do it through the Pentagon. Don't have it through the siloed bureaucracy that runs our foreign policy. That isn't what we want. We don't want psychological operations and propaganda schemes. We want military intelligence. You can have that through the Pentagon. General Washington himself during the American Revolution had military intelligence. It was great intelligence. It was brilliant in some ways. Didn't need a CIA, a rogue agency, to do that.
I'd settle for real oversight rather than, Tom Cotton, who runs the Senate Intelligence Committee, is basically just an apologist for the CIA. There's no oversight at all. He carries water for the agency in ways that hurt this country. And I'm not exactly sure why, what is that? And I don't know the answer. People can speculate all they want. I do want to just go back and thank you for what you said. It's all true. It's true.
Okay. Good. I haven't seen the end of it, but I saw the first part. It's amazing, by the way. It's
No,
really
I'm not
gripping,
talking
the whole
about
thing.
our documentary series. I was just saying your analysis of CIA. I mean, how many people do you think in the White House right now know what the actual CIA budget is? I'd be surprised if you could find someone. I've never met anyone who can even, they can't tell you because it's classified. And I assume supposedly the House and Senate Intel Committee chairmen know what the full budget is, but I would be shocked if they actually did. I mean, it's its own country. It's autonomous. It doesn't have oversight. It doesn't have command and control structures. It just kind of does what it wants. It lies about what it does. There's no way to know for a fact. I mean, it's a separate government within our borders, just like they had in Portland, Oregon at the at the height of George Floyd.
Right.
But I just want to ask you about something that you said about the drone sighting or the lights in the sky over New Jersey last year, and so many sightings that it's really no dispute that it happened. The question is, what is it? And the president said that he would tell us. We've never heard. What was that, do you think?
I don't know. And, they're having also very similar drone sightings now over in Denmark that actually shut down both Danish airports on Sunday. I mean, it's, uh, yeah, I mean, and why can't we know about it?
Yeah, we can never know about it because it is the shadow government that Tucker just described there. That's one of the best ways to talk about it. He made a great point regarding the budget, too. The budgets of the CIA and the NSA and other spy agencies are actually classified information. So, American taxpayers that foot the bills for these agencies that do things so maniacal and perverted and in just a strictly violative sense of our individual rights, we can't even know what we, the taxpayers, are paying for. And, people like Trump and people like Obama have talked big upon entering the office about how transparent they're going to be with the public in talking about these things. But the same tune is true regardless of any president you elect. They all hide these things. They hide the budgets. As we see here, this is a story from 2015 where Obama doubled down on this, not disclosing the spy agency budgets. So you can see this is a bipartisan affair. It's the Uniparty. It's exactly what they want for us. They want to hide everything that they can, and there's nothing that we can do to get answers to it. They hid the NSA surveillance program that Snowden unearthed. It was called PRISM, and it was a mass data collection scheme where the US government partnered, of course, with private entities to fleece us of our data, aggregate it all into a database, and be able to sift through it without a warrant against Americans. Snowden tells stories about how, he was seeing, just peers of his sitting down at the NSA headquarters, sifting through personal materials of individuals. There's no warrant for any of this. And then Clapper lies about this on the stand in a congressional committee prompted by Ron Wyden, a good Democrat on issues of transparency, actually. And he lies about it completely. Does he get charged for that? No. Clapper goes free and gets hired by CNN as an analyst. That's what happens. The CIA is nefarious. It needs to be shut down. There's no redeemable feature of it. And if there is any sense of actual, intelligence collection that will protect Americans, it'd be nice if there was actual threat to act against, but there's not. The US isn't under threat of invasion. Iran's not a threat. They want to wipe Iran off the map. You have people clamoring for war with China. China has like 2 aircraft carriers? They're not trying to project any force against the US whatsoever. And when's the last time they invaded a neighbor? It just, Tibet maybe? Was it Korea? It's just, that doesn't happen. The US is the empire that's the threat to the world. And we should mind our own business, get out of these stupid empire building schemes and antagonizing the rest of the world and doing it through this rogue agency, the CIA, which is a shadow government. So I'm glad that Tucker and Shellenberger discussed this. There's big threats to national security from people that want to run us into wars via the CIA. And the CIA perverts the original understanding of what U.S. foreign policy was supposed to be. But let me know down below, do you agree with Tucker Carlson and Michael Shellenberger on this? Should the CIA just be reformed or abolished? What are your thoughts on the Epstein scandal or the 9/11 hijacker story that Tucker blew the roof off, but that story's actually been out there since 2022? Let me know down below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, also subscribe to Tucker Carlson. Awesome interview. Again, these are 2 of the best journalists in the world. Love them both. Thank you for this interview. Please also consider becoming a YouTube member of mine by clicking the join button below. That would mean the world to me. It would help support the channel. And if you do that, I'll actually give you all of my videos before they go live to the general public. Those are the videos that are labeled members only right now. Until I see you guys next time, no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. Peace out, guys. Catch you in the next one.